Welcome back. Welcome back. It's BRAP. It's Wednesday night, August the 20th. Wow, August has really flown by. What a great month for video games, though, in the month of August. Gamescom 2025 is here. A lot of great games shown off at opening night, Gamescom. We're going to talk about that here in just a bit. We're also going to discuss new Xbox ROG Ally details and PlayStation 5. Some of you folks voted for this, hence the thumbnail of DT and the PlayStation 5. Talk about the tariffs impacting PlayStation in gaming. Tariffs, let's see. Hayabusa 09 says tariffs make foreign goods more expensive to protect, promote domestic goods. PS5 is a foreign good and the price is going up. So before you complain, please tell me who you voted for. I can tell you who I did vote for, the individual who raised tariffs. I didn't vote for that individual. I'll tell you that much. Actually, let me do some, I forgot to do something here real quick with regard to the BRAP channel. Please do me a favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe, hit the bell notification so you'll learn when we go live if you haven't done so already. Drop a link here in the live chat. Let me know we're live as well. And where is I need to go to my channel real quick. Forgot to do this. What a busy day for BRAP. BRAP's been very busy today. Very busy today. What's going on here? Community, post, playlist, membership, shorts, video. What am I looking at here? Here we go. Need to post this here. I need to post to Twitter. Let me know we're live. We are live. Larry Herb says, I may need to pick up a Asus ROG Ally Xbox or Ally X. Evening, JC. Evening, Ghostface. Def Lloyd. Aaron Walsh says, great thumbnail. Reek L. Welcome. Yeah, so I gotta say, this has been a fun this month of August, at least for gaming news, I think has been great. Obviously because of Gamescom, right? Gamescom kicked off the other day, yesterday, and we had Jeff Keighley's opening night live. And look, I gotta give Jeff his flowers. I think that yes, you might be tariffed for the show, Chrono Rig. I got to give Jeff his flowers. He's done a great job at E3. Look, at least for me, I was supposed to go to true story. I was supposed to go to E3 in 2020. I had my flight booked. We had a place booked. I was actually going to go with the Iron Lords podcast, and was going to room with. I know some folks might find this hard to believe. I was going to. Jeff looks stressed. Man's a hard worker, right? Probably doesn't get a lot of rest. I was gonna room with share a room with Boomstick, Double Barrel Gaming, Mr. Boomstick XL, believe it or not. And I was gonna go with the Iron Lords. We had everything booked, and then COVID hit. We couldn't go, and rest is history. No more E3. So it's Gamescom. Gamescom is, well, in Europe is kind of like, at least for me, that reminder, or that it makes you think of, wow, would it be great for E3 to come back? Like, would it be great for E3 just to come back? And maybe not have it in Los Angeles every year. I don't know, maybe have E3 at different locations, New York City, Miami, Chicago, LA. Dallas. Vegas. Look at that. Jeff Floyd says, bring it to Vegas. Yes. Home of the computer entertainment. No. What is it? Consumer electronics. Something, whatever. CES. Consumer electronics show. Is it Consumer electronics show? I think that's what it's called. Yeah, bring it to Vegas. That would be a debacle, though. Imagine the debauchery at Vegas E3. Yeah, I think actually Cronenberg. I think Cronenberg is right. I think they did have. Well, they had E3 in Atlanta at one point, and I don't know if they ever had Hookers and Halo. Oh my gosh, Def Floyd. Yes, Hookers and Halo, the new DLC from 343i Studios. Can you imagine that? Master Chief, Cortana. I can't do it anymore. Hold on, so I can do Master Chief, Cortana. Nah, I can't do it. Hold on, Cortana. I used to be able to do it. Can't do it anymore. Chief's like, give me some hookers. What's up, Brighties? But no, I mean, seriously, like, imagine, Vegas would be a debauchery. It would be a show. Not the show, but just a show. It'd be a mess. People would be drunk. I hope it's not the Luxor. Is the Luxor the pyramid? I always forget. I think it is the pyramid. By the way, for those who always, those who don't know, I am watching AEW Dynamite live from the UK. They have their pay-per-view this month of Forbidden Door, their annual pay-per-view, where they team up with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So yeah, I would love. I would very much, very, very, very much love for E3 to come back. I think it would be great. It'd be fantastic. Maybe GT can set that up. Maybe someone should tweet or ping. Maybe go to Truth Social and ping DT. Say, hey DT, you can bring E3 back. Make E3 great again. What can wish though? I'm sorry for yawning. Look, it's been a tough day. Went through another reduction in force at work, and that's never fun. One of my colleagues, unfortunately, was riffed, and within the team that I'm a part of, that sucks. Rifts are never. You just never get used to them, and I've been through like 4 or 5 now in the last 4 years. I want to say last 3 years. Actually, last 3 years, I've been through about 4 or 5. It sucks. Chronorig says, I think there are too many shows and it's diluting the announcement and spreading thin. Yeah, I think that's a fair point. It's a fair point, Chronorig. Yeah, it sucks, Def Floyd. It sucks. All right. Battlefield 6 beta for this past weekend. I played both beta weekends. For those of you who probably don't remember, if you've been listening to the show since its inception in 2015, and crazy we've been doing this for 10 years. If you've been listening to that show, if you've been listening to the show this long, ooh, what movie is this? Oh, yeah, I don't want to watch that. Yeah, if you've been listening to the show for the past 10 years, some of you may know that I dabbled quite a bit in Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4. And after Battlefield 4, I just Battlefield just fell off. I just didn't want to play it anymore. Yeah, Herodot said this ate me. The 30th anniversary restock will be more expensive too. So freaking sad. I agree. It sucks. So yeah, so I used to play Battlefield quite a bit. Play Battlefield. Actually, since Battlefield Bad Company 2. Play Battlefield Bad Company 2. Is it Erica Harbor? Was one of my favorite maps, and I used to play with somebody on. And I at that time I was primarily playing games mostly on Xbox. The Xbox 360, and that map was it was so much fun. I mean, the Abrams the tanks were a little OP. So were the engineers. I mean, we basically would load out as 2 engineer classes, and somebody I would play with quite a bit would drive the Abrams, the tank, man the cannon. I would man the 50 cal, and we would just get surgical with it. I mean, it wasn't even. I mean, people would try to take us out, and we'd back out, and usually the driver of the tank would be like, repairs. I get out, start repairing, and we had it down to a science. It wasn't fair. And we just go in and start leveling buildings, taking out snipers, just gunning people with the 50 cal. I mean, it just wasn't fair. I mean, I think one game I had like 100 kills. It wasn't even fair. So I kind of missed that aspect of Battlefield, and playing the beta. The tanks aren't that OP as the tanks in Bad Company 2. But so I got a chance to play the Battlefield 6 beta past 2 weekends. And admittedly, I said this on Twitter, and I think Logic probably agreed with me that, look, I admit I'm probably not the target demo for Battlefield anymore. I'm excited to see that there seems to be a lot of excitement about this iteration of Battlefield 6. Vince Zampella and company are working on this. Vince Zampella of Call of Duty, of Activision, formerly of Activision, and creator of Titanfall, Respawn Entertainment. But yeah, no, are you going to do the ODST Helldivers? I'll talk about that in a little bit, because that was a big announcement this week too. So I got to play the Battlefield Beta 6. Mostly played. My son actually played. My 11-year-old son played. He actually really liked it. He actually wanted to. He kept asking me to play it, and he probably put as much time as into the beta as I did. And it was myself, Ghostface, or Ghost in the Garage. Nib was on. Wooly Gamer was on. T-Rock. I don't know if T-Rock's listening. They were. So I ended up running a couple squad matches with them. As I mentioned, my son was playing too. So, look, it looks great. I think it's a good looking game. The destruction is there in typical Battlefield fashion. There's collapsing trenches in some parts of the map. Let me get Game Logic in here. What's going on, Logic?
How much, man? How are you?
Good. Did well. Discussing Battlefield 6, my experience with the beta, and I was letting the listeners know that I'm not the target demo for this game anymore.
Good, man. Look. Just honesty with yourself in your older age is it's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree 110%. Too old to lie to myself and waste my time. And things that probably aren't. They probably things that I probably won't fully enjoy. But Oh, by the way, Logic, I meant to tell you, we were going to get Doc Dark to come on tonight. I think he was going to got tied up at work or something. So Doc Dark couldn't make it today. So big shout out to Doc Dark. Now, Logic, I know you didn't play the Battlefield 6 beta because I guess you don't play betas, right?
Yeah, I mean that's a running shtick. I mean the fact of the matter is though I'm not a huge Battlefield fan. I haven't been since really Battlefield 2. I shouldn't say that. I have not been a Battlefield multiplayer fan for a very long time. I liked Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5. I liked like the little vignettes, like their approach to the single player campaign, which are just like these little like 5 mission like stories for different characters. You know, those I kind of liked. I haven't liked the multiplayer for a very long time because no offense to most of our audience, but like to me, Battlefield peaked when it was just on PC, and as soon as it started kind of intermixing the console crowd, it just kind of went downhill. Just because for me that game is highly dependent on comms, and since it arrived on, it arrived on console, and at least for me on 360 and my group of friends, comms were broken and they were never fixed by EA on the 360. And then, like I said, from there, I just feel like I don't know, the whole thing around it just felt less than when it was just on PC for me. And today, yeah. I don't like because in the years since I've become very much a gamer who does not like idle time in multiplayer games. That whole thing of like, when you respawn, how long it could sometimes take you to get back to the fight. Just I'm like, I'm not interested in a 15-minute do loop of 6 minutes I'm in a fight, and but the other 9 minutes I'm constantly transiting back to the front line.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I mean, I didn't really care for my week 1 experience, the Battlefield beta, because I really wasn't playing with anyone. I was playing with randos. And then sometimes you get those randos that are yelling at you, it's like, I'm not anywhere near you. Like, why are you yelling at me? Somebody's like, revive me. I'm like, I'm on the other side of the map, buddy.
and that's my thing too. I mean, and Call of Duty has gone through that too, right? But it's also just been a lot about, to me, at least some of my experiences, how like then when you do interact with people in that community, there's just a lot of toxicity, and there's a lot of expecting everybody to be like at a super high level of proficiency. And I'm like, if I'm not a Battlefield main, like that's not going to be in my knowledge bucket, and I'm not going to become a Battlefield main, if you guys are just being a dick like every time, every time I come in here. So, versus other communities like the Ready or Not community, at least before it hit consoles, I would be very curious to know if that has gotten toxic. The Ready or Not community, online on PC was amazingly receptive. Logic. What's that?
I'm seeing a trend here when things go to console that things start becoming a little more toxic.
Well, I don't want to put it that way. There's plenty of jackasses on PC as well. It's just it just depends a lot on communities and the way different people play, right? Like to me, I hate to say it, but I feel like when you have a game on PC that is like super tactical and super based on like precision comms and based on playing the game as you would approach combat in real life, I feel like then when you move that to console, where you don't have where you have a more diluted community of people of that type, then you stand a good chance of a lot of that being stripped away. Like I'd be very curious to find out how Delta Force is doing, showing up on console now.
Toxic.
I'm willing to bet that it's become more of the instant gratification crowd, and yeah.
I mean, it's I forgot Delta Force is on console now. But that was kind of that week 1, because I didn't have a dedicated group of friends to play with, or on my friends list. It was kind of like, it reminded me of why I stopped playing solo and why I don't really play multiplayer games the way I used to, because you really need to have a dedicated group of or dedicated squad to have the peak optimal multiplayer experience in any shooter, in my opinion. I felt like we kind of went through that with Halo Infinite when we were. Remember, it was me, you, Slow Mo. Was Forte with us? I don't remember.
And Forte, yeah.
Yeah, it was four of us. That was, to me, that was peak. That was peak Halo Infinite multiplayer experience. That was great.
That's why I stuck with it as long as I did. That's why I played so much, away from you guys, because I was trying to up my skills right when I was away, so I wouldn't be as much of a drag on the squad, when I was playing with you guys. But yeah,
you can't play with Slow Mo because Slow Mo attracts the sweaties. It was a different experience when Slow Mo would join the server. It's like, oh god, here we go. But yeah, and so week 2 was better. I got to there were a couple there were some of my friends list, T-Rock, Wooly Gamer, got a funny story about Wooly, Nib, who else? There was someone else that was on that I played with. I can't remember now, but playing with them made the experience much more enjoyable than the week 1 beta for me, because I had a team on comms. We were all, on the same page. And the thing I don't like, the one thing I'll say, I don't care for all the vehicles in Battlefield. That's still not. I know earlier in the show I was talking. I did mention the like Bad Company 2 and primarily using the Abrams for one particular map, Arica Harbor, but I just don't. I don't know. I just don't care for them. It's a bit too chaotic for me.
So that's weird. It's really weird to me, because that. I mean, you and I were in sync on a lot of Battlefield stuff up until that point, because that to me is the enjoyment of Battlefield.
No, I know. I know. Like B Money says, he's like, because I've said that to B, and B's like, you don't like Conquest? Like, what's wrong with you? And you're right. Like that's like the differentiator between Battlefield and Call of Duty, right? Just the vehicles, how chaotic it is. That it's like war, right? You have helicopters, you have tanks, you have jeeps. I guess where I get frustrated is where people are in helicopters, and then you have a group of, like, when you're playing in a really big server, you have different squads of 4, but it's still kind of like each individual squad's kind of doing their own thing, right? So you may be in a room where there's nobody trying to take out the helicopter, or you don't have somebody who can pilot a helicopter to counteract the other helicopter. So those are the things that kind of frustrate me about Battlefield, and why I try to stay away from Conquest and more of the vehicular combat that's in Battlefield. That's why Rush and Team Deathmatch are my favorite, and the close quarters combat too, which was in the Battlefield 6 beta. Those are my favorite game modes of Battlefield, and so I think that's what we mostly played. We did play a couple Conquest domination matches. The sniping is irritating, especially one particular map. I forget. There's like snipers everywhere. It's like, come on, guys. Like, do we really need 40 snipers on the screen, like in one map? Like, that kind of stuff is a little annoying. I don't have patience for it like I used to when I was younger. But the game, I think, looked good. The destruction, which Battlefield's known for, it's there. And I didn't really experience too many performance issues. Like, I don't recall any like frame rate stuttering or crashing and getting kicked out of a server. I didn't experience that. I don't know if others did, but I thought it was in that regard, it was a good experience. And please, anyone in the live chat, if you play the Battlefield beta, you had those experiences, please let me know.
Well, you mentioned that thing of needing to roll. So some games being at their best when you roll with a crew. I would also say some games basically requiring it, right, to be any fun. Like, to me, for me personally, Overwatch just isn't fun unless you have a regular crew, right, that you're in there with. But this is also one of the reasons why I don't have high prospects for fair games, because I feel like that is a game that's going to require you to, be with a crew, right? That you work well with, trying to pull off a heist and then extract. It's not going to be a game that's suited well to playing with randos. So, not projecting high expectations for that game.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Logic. I think that game might be coming a little hot. um, what else? So one of the things that was really cool, if you're a support class and as a support class, you have the ability to revive your teammates or other members of different squads within that team. One of the things that was really cool was the ability to drag down teammates to safety. And that's actually a new feature in Battlefield, which I thought was really cool. So you can actually hit the square. Well, hit this. I'm playing on PlayStation 5, so hit the square button, or I think on Xbox would be the X button. And then it allows you to, if you pull back on the thumbstick, it allows you to drag a teammate out of gunfire or behind cover, so you can revive them safely. So that was new. That was actually kind of cool. I thought that was really cool. The one complaint I did hear, and I think B Money may have mentioned this too when he was on last week. I did see it. I did read online that some Battlefield, some of the fans of the franchise were a little disappointed with the map design, the map sizes, that they felt a little like claustrophobic or more like Call of Duty maps than a traditional Battlefield map. I mean, I could see that. They weren't these giant maps in the beta, and I don't know. I'd have to go back and look. I don't know what other maps are going to release for the full retail release, if they're going to have like those traditional big Battlefield maps. But I do know that was a complaint during the beta, that some of these maps were too close quarters. They felt too much like Call of Duty. Some of them had. I did read someone. Forget where it was, what website it was. Someone mentioned like limited flanking routes. Kind of made the game made some of the maps a bit frustrating to navigate. So, and then one of the criticisms I saw too was at Rush, which is my favorite game mode, that the maps were just too small for that, and and the maps being too small kind of undermined some of the what's the word I'm looking for here? God, now I sound like George Bush, strategery. Some of the strategic potential of of some of the combat and stuff like that, and these smaller maps in Rush. And one of my favorite maps for Rush and Battlefield, I think 3 or 4, was Metro, and that wasn't a small map per se. I mean, there was like it was a larger map. But it wasn't as small as the maps that I was playing that I played during the beta. And so yeah, I could totally see how some people might come away with it. This feels more like Call of Duty than it does Battlefield in terms of the map designs. I think the other issue that I had with this Logic was I didn't like the time to kill. And I was trying not to compare it to Call of Duty, but I think Call of Duty may have been the last multiplayer game that I've played. I think. Call of Duty is very, very Twitch based, very fast. I almost prefer that time to kill in Call of Duty than I did Battlefield. There were times where I would engage and I would see someone, like I would see someone, I'm like, okay, like headshots. I'm like, well, wait a minute, they should be down already. And then they end up taking me out. And I felt like the hitboxes were a bit inconsistent at times too. So those were my two biggest complaints of the beta. Now, I don't know if I'm going to go out and buy this. I think it releases October. Is it released October 6th? I don't remember now. Look this up. Let's see this real quick. Oh, I'm sorry. October 10th. Releases October 10th. Now, this is the game is going to have a battle royale mode. Is my understanding. So that's going to be, but I don't think the battle royale mode, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think that's going to launch in October. I think that's coming later. But anyhow, so those are my quick impressions of the Battlefield beta. So, Hamp, I got to ask you, what do you think of the thumbnail?
No, yeah. Yeah, that's good, man.
Well, there's a reason why I'm asking about that. Because
factual.
What's that?
Factual.
Well, I was told that the countries would pay the tariffs. All right, so here we go. PlayStation announced today that they will increase the price of the PlayStation 5 consoles, all PlayStation 5 SKUs. Did I say that right? SKUs. I think I did. SKUs by $50. So, Hamp, I'm so happy I bought my PlayStation 5 Pro now, and that I didn't wait. And one of the reasons why.
Oh wait,
I decided.
Did you buy a Pro?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did I know that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually called you when I got it.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know that it slipped my mind. I think I probably acknowledged it when you told me, but then like since then when we've talked about like what games you've been playing on it, I feel like you haven't mentioned a lot like about like like how much you're enjoying playing like games on the PlayStation 5 Pro versus just like a regular PlayStation 5. I don't know, maybe we haven't talked about that.
Yeah, I've talked about it on you may have not been here when I first bought the PlayStation 5 Pro. The first game I fired up was the game of the year, the GOTY, Clair Obscura Expedition 33. And I immediately saw a performance difference. You could just tell. And then you remember when you went back, you were playing The Last of Us Part 2, I think on PC and PS5 Pro.
Yeah.
Or was it just PC?
I was going back and forth. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you started playing that, I was like, whoa, let me go back to let me go back to The Last of Us Part 2, and I got the $10 upgrade because I owned the original, and I started playing that, and that I think looks really good on the PS5 Pro. And so I don't regret the purchase at all. I love it. I think it's great. Like I can't imagine playing Death Stranding right now, which is a beautiful looking game. I couldn't imagine playing Death Stranding on a PlayStation 5, like a base PlayStation 5.
Yeah, Death Stranding 2, you're saying?
Oh yeah, what I said Death Stranding. Death Stranding 2, yeah. Death Stranding 2. Yeah. Nate says, BRAP forever glad he listened to me. I do remember Nate saying, BRAP, you got to get the PS5 Pro. So no, I'm glad I did because, and part of the reason why I decided to pull the trigger was because of the tariffs. I'm actually surprised that Sony didn't announce this sooner. But this was the press release on the PlayStation blog. PlayStation Isabel Tomata, I don't know if I pronounced her last name correctly. Similar to many global businesses, we continue to navigate a challenging economic environment. As a result, we've made the difficult decision to increase the recommended retail price for PlayStation 5 consoles in the U.S. starting August 21st tomorrow. So tonight was your last day. Today was the last day you can get the PlayStation 5 Pro at PlayStation 5 Pro at $700, the PlayStation 5 base at $500, and then the PlayStation 5 digital at $450. Those are all going up $50. The recommended retail prices for PlayStation 5 accessories remain unchanged, so we're not getting a price increase on things like the controllers. We have no other price changes to announce for additional markets. So that came out today. We could thank DT for this. Tariffs. Logic, any thoughts on this?
Lots. Where do you want me to start?
Well, one of the things I was thinking about, it's interesting, like without there being, we asked Porter Rock this question last week. Despite there being no price reduction that we typically see at this point in the console generation, the PlayStation 5s continue to sell pretty well. Do you think that we're going to see a slowdown here, or is it going to be more of the same in terms of hardware sales, console sales?
It's really tough to say on this one. I think it has a lot to do with timing, and it has a lot to do with what else is going on in the market. So when we roll the chronology back, right, and we talk about our discussion, I want to say going into 2023, going into 2024, I think that last quarter was where they raised prices on the PlayStation 5 digital by $50, I want to say. And remember, you and I talked, and I said I think that's going to cause them to miss numbers. I said I don't think it'll be huge. I said I think financially they'll be fine, but I think you're going to see a chilling effect right on demand. And they did miss numbers that quarter when they reported them in January. I want to say January 2024, and then they, I think, revised end of year guidance at the last minute because they, had to crank back the total number of PlayStation 5s that they expected to sell through. So, but at the time, I don't think every other console had raised prices, right? So you flash forward to now when we've got a $450 Switch 2. We have Xbox having raised prices with like no change, no offering, right, in specs for their boxes. You have the Xbox 2 terabyte, which is at $730, in comparison to the PlayStation 5 Pro, who, different people will have different opinions based on what their preferred platform is. The people who prefer Xbox will assert that there is little to no difference between a PlayStation 5 and a PlayStation 5 Pro. Other people will feel that there is a difference in compute and some software implementations on the PlayStation 5 Pro. And so, whether or not you see that daylight or not, there's gonna be a perceived difference in the market, right, between what the PlayStation 5 Pro offers at just $20 more than a 2 terabyte Xbox. So that 2 terabyte Xbox, at least when I went shopping for it, like in January, was very difficult to get. Prices were jacked up all over the place beyond MSRP, and delivery times were incredibly long. So I just don't know how many people are out there realistically really hunting for that SKU even. So I mean, we're kind of in a different market now, I think. So I don't think we're going to see the brakes being hit on demand for the PlayStations based solely on the price increase. I think, NPD, Matt Piscatella, already reported, I want to say earlier this year, maybe in March, maybe in May, I can't remember exactly, that as we went into the bottom of this year, you kind of have a chilling effect on overall demand, particularly in consumer electronics, luxury devices, because of fears and boogeymanning, right, of tariffs and an impending recession. And therefore you'd see an increase in signups for subscriptions after we had this long period of stalling effect on subscriptions. So I think those things are still going to go on. You also have TSMC putting the grind to everybody on getting onto its new lithography process and raising prices where those things are concerned. So I just think overall we're going to see kind of a break in consumer spending as we head into the bottom half of the year, and as we get into the holidays. So I think some of those things were kind of already preordained, and I don't know that the price increases are really going to radically alter that vector.
Yeah. So you think there's going to be a chilling effect on consumer spending in video games, right? In part because of this, and I think.
Well, I think overall, I mean, yes,
Yeah.
video games will get hit as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think Piscatella, you mentioned Matt. I think Matt actually put something out about with the Gen Z spending less, 13% last year over year, citing cost of living, economic challenges, which Sony mentioned. The price of goods. I mean, inflation is trickling up. Yeah, I think I think about sales too, Logic. How this might impact sales here in the U.S. I don't disagree with that. I think there's probably going to be a cooling effect. I think maybe some of those impulse buys probably are less likely to happen now when you're really kind of scratching your chin, rubbing your chin, and saying, like, do I really need this? It's an extra $50. I don't know. But I think it also depends on what games are coming out too. I think maybe if GTA 6 was coming out this fall, maybe that's not. Maybe we see a blip right during the release window of that game for console sales. But I don't disagree. I think generally speaking, I think things probably cool down across the board. And I think, as you said, I think you mentioned with the increase that they had, was it for the digital PS5?
Yeah, I want to say,
You,
yeah, I think the, I
you
want to say,
saw,
I think the chronology of this generation went, there was a point in time where they raised prices in foreign territories that were not the US. Um, and then, I think they raised prices on the digital in the US. And then I think they lowered prices again, I think. It's hard for me to track because I already had mine. So, but yeah.
yeah. So I mean, so I think we could probably see, maybe a hit in the financials. With the as a result of the increased pricing of the PlayStation consoles. I guess if there's any softening of the blow, that accessories at least aren't. There's no price hike on accessories right now, but who knows? Maybe that changes. So, um, yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see how this plays out. Like for me, and again, I'm speaking from somebody who's in that, what do we say, that we're like the 5% of the market. So my perspective is, if I was buying a PlayStation 5, me personally, the extra $50 probably wouldn't bother me as much. But they may buy that may be different for someone who maybe hasn't jumped into the current gen, is not looking at that and saying, nah, I don't know about that. So now, oh, you know what, Logic? I I was just thinking about, I might have to go buy a PlayStation Portal now.
Yeah, true.
Because what happens if the tariffs hit that?
Yeah,
I saw.
Wouldn't be a bad idea.
I think GameStop has used ones for like 150. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of, I mean, since coming back to consoles, kind of in the lead up to the Switch 2 launch, I've just been, getting all my console stuff situated has just been a priority for me. I'd already bought a 5080 earlier in the year, and I was just like, yeah, like anything console wise, I just want to go ahead and get it out of the way, and make sure I leave room, for other stuff if I have to deal, with prices.
Yeah. Give me a sec here, I'm trying to pull up another article here.
For people who are in the market for a Google Pixel, that phone dropped today and looks like it did not increase prices
Oh, okay.
generation over generation. So Apple supposedly stockpiled lots of domestic inventory in an effort to not have to raise prices until the launch of the iPhone 17. But even with that, they have been slowly shifting their supply chain over to getting more phones cranked out of India. So Apple may, Google and Samsung going early, I think, has helped prevent them from raising prices. Apple is taking longer, but that additional time they're taking may, to stay on their regular release cycle, may also work out, because by the time they launch and any tariffs have gotten worse, they may have superseded the problem. So
yeah, I was told that countries pay for tariffs, but that those costs are passed on to consumers. I forget who told me that, but anyhow, Logic, Black Myth Wukong finally made it to the Xbox. It's available now for purchase, $60. I don't think you played Black Myth Wukong when it came out, right? A year ago.
I didn't. I've, since playing Expedition 33, I've put Souls like games, or I'll call them games with a heavy parry mechanic for people who get offended by things being called Souls like. I've said that I'll put those back on the menu, but I have not. I haven't gotten around to kind of picking up that thread just yet. It's just a note on a note right now.
You might do some damage after mastering Claire Obscure Expedition 33. You might walk into Souls and just do some damage.
I'm hoping so. I'm hoping so.
Yeah. Yeah. So Black Myth, I'm actually happy that this game's finally made its way to the Xbox. Didn't release last year. Developer talked about memory constraints, issues with the Xbox Series S. Now, I will say this: my big complaint about this release on Xbox, like, not that it's releasing on Xbox, it's the quote unquote fan reaction to this release. Rather than celebrating that Black Myth Wukong, a great game, critically one of the a game that was up for Game of the Year. Rather than celebrating the release of this game, a lot of the stuff that I saw today, Logic, was, oh well, see, they lied. It can run 60 FPS on the Series S, and it was an exclusivity deal because it was exactly a year after released on PlayStation 5. And I'm like, really? Like, why are we having those conversations? And it just, I don't want to say everyone within the Xbox community on social media doesn't play games, but I think there are a lot of them that don't play games. Because what I don't understand is how you could be so focused in keeping score of what happened a year ago versus saying, wow, this game is finally here, and all the belly aching and I get it, like people being upset, but the game's on the platform now, and I'm not seeing many people talk about Black Myth Wukong right now on Xbox, which is a shame.
Well,
because it's a great game.
You were the person who reminded me that it was coming out this week. I certainly didn't see that from any Xbox fan.
No, because many of them are too busy talking about how Sony money had in the deal still a year later. Like Corey Mass says, it was never about the game, clearly. And that's what's frustrating. As much as critical as I've been of Xbox Logic in the past, I think I said this to you the other day. I like that they've been a bit less. They've been a little bit more quiet. And at least for me, what I've seen from them is more of conversation around or more talk around games and things that are coming to other platforms, things that are coming into Game Pass. Black Myth Wukong just released today. There was a Square Enix game, I forget the name of it, was just stealth released in Xbox today as well. Look at Game Pass. Game Pass October is going to be great for Game Pass, I think, with the release of Ninja Gaiden 4 and Outer Worlds 2. And I think Logic, let me know what you think. I think this has been a really, really great year for Game Pass in terms of releases, from their first party studios to some of the games that they've released through third party partnerships.
Yes. I that's a modulated yes, because we also have the data that despite those games showing up in Game Pass, people in Game Pass don't spend a lot of time playing them. So it's an over under, I guess. From a consumer perspective, it's cool that those games are showing up. From a consumer perspective, I don't really know that it matters, because when those games do show up, they still don't play them. So like the whole argument that Game Pass was what it was because great games weren't showing up there, and now great games are showing up there, and there's still not a ton of engagement, right, on a per title basis. So yeah, it's good that the service exists there. I wish more people would take advantage of it, right, in terms of playing games, but it seems like it's predominantly people are paying $20 a month to beta test. So it's just a kind of a weird arrangement, so to speak, for me.
Yeah, it's interesting. You talked about I think you alluded to games coming to Game Pass, or that maybe Game Pass wasn't as successful because it didn't have enough games coming to Game Pass, and now we're seeing a lot of good games come to Game Pass. We haven't really seen that needle move that much, right?
You talk about on subscription numbers?
Yeah.
So it did get a bump when they put Call of Duty in Game Pass. I think what I understood was that it got it got a bump, but it wasn't a huge bump, and then churn proceeded to kind of set in afterwards. Maybe that's been recovered now from the games that are being delivered. We haven't gotten numbers, but of course we've gotten, it made $5 billion of revenue, and it's reported as profitable. So, I mean, I don't think we're in the same place of assessment we were 2 years ago when we knew like the number hadn't moved. And then when we heard the number after the business update, that still told you that it A, hadn't moved, B, that there had been tons of churn, C, that it actually may have decreased, and that D, those numbers were heavily padded with the people who have been flipped over from Xbox Live Gold to become Game Pass Core. But again, as the economy has gotten worse for a lot of people, those in Call of Duty has gone in, those numbers have gone up. What the significance or impact of that is, I think that's still a point of question. But but I mean, in whatever growth there has been, I assume has to be happening on PC because console numbers continue to backslide in terms of sell through. That tells me that it hasn't kept pace with the number of Game Pass subscriptions. So I think right now we're by Piscatella said, we're seeing a knock, right? We're seeing a knock-on effect from the economic conditions. So,
oh man, I mean, I try to tell people tariffs aren't good for the economy, and we were already teetering on and dealing with, inflation, not just here in the U.S. but elsewhere. So, but yeah, again, I'm happy to see Black Myth Wukong. Actually, they announced a sequel to Black Myth Wukong at Gamescom, which I think is awesome that Game Science is working on a sequel to this game. But yeah, just it's just one of the things I noticed where I think there's a lot of great games coming to Game Pass. Black Myth Wukong's released, and some of the folks in that community just really aren't talking about some of the great releases in Game Pass, how good Game Pass has been this year in terms of releases, and then get landing games like Black Myth Wukong, finally getting Final Fantasy VII. The Square Enix game that just stealth dropped is killing me now. I don't remember the name of it. I just remember Creative Coffee being excited about it. It's also releasing on PlayStation 5, but just something that I noticed, and I question whether those folks really truly do love video games and actually play video games. But
not just upset or angry about games finally coming to Game Pass, but just as we saw from some members of that camp, just miserable with gaming overall this generation. Right?
Yeah, I don't get that. Like, I mean, I don't understand a hobby that's supposed to bring enjoyment creates so much negativity. I mean, like, if it does for you, then you probably shouldn't be playing video games because you're doing it wrong. This should be an enjoyable hobby, enjoyable entertainment.
I'm like, look, there are plenty of people who are miserable because television, a good significant chunk of television for a while. I think we've seen that reverse kind of around like the Game of Thrones, Stranger Things kind of time period. But for a while, television was overtaken by reality TV.
Right? That was terrible.
And lots of people lamented that. There are plenty of people who are mad now that the NFL is not just on two of the three core networks like CBS, NBC, or ABC. Right? There are people who are upset about that. There are people who are upset there are there's AFC games on one channel, NFC games on another channel, which has always been the case. But then on top of that, now you have Thursday night games on a different streaming service, and then what is the one on
Amazon
night?
Prime?
What is
well, there's Sunday night football. There's Thursday night football. There's Sunday night football.
Sunday night football, right?
Yeah, and there's
Monday night football. Obviously has been around.
Yeah.
But there's people upset about that, like that distribution, and like you have to be subscribed or right to all these different things. So I get that. But there are also some of those people who, when those things came about, they just got out of that stuff, right? So like if it makes you miserable, my point of this is that there's lots of people who assert that they're gamers and are in the gaming conversation, but claim that they've been miserable this entire generation. Well, then I'm like, then get out. Like, go find a different hobby. Like, or only play the things that you enjoy. Look, if you just enjoy playing games from 20 years ago, then build yourself a potato PC and continue to play those games and live in the past. Like, there's plenty of that content for you. There's all these retro boxes that have come out, right, over the last decade or so. Right, the Sega, the little mini Sega Genesis, the little mini PlayStation, which was not a good device, the little Nintendo, any, you know, like, there's that stuff is there for you. Like, nobody said that you had to be on the cutting edge, you know. But by the same token, there are lots of us who are on the cutting edge, who are enjoying gaming, and you know, and quite frankly, if your commentary is just about you being miserable all the time, I don't really particularly think we need you around.
I don't disagree, Logic. Too many Debbie Downers in the gaming space.
Like literally. Now I'm on my soapbox. There are many of us who have played Expedition 33 this year and have asserted that is the best video game we have ever played. Right?
Yes.
And I've been playing video games literally almost since the inception of the industry. Right? And I'm like, but you're going to tell me gaming's been horrible this generation. Like, and what have you played? You know, so look, if you've declared, because I constantly push back on gamers about this, like, and I think you'll all go through like periods of your life that you're gonna hit these periods of your life, your 5-year, your 10-year period, where you say, I know what I like these genres, I don't play these games, right? I don't need reviews, I don't need people to tell me what to play. This is what I like. But what I have said, and I wrote this, I think, a few weeks ago, what I've said, if you find that box, right, and you get comfortable in it, that's fine. I expect that to be kind of an evolutionary arc of a gamer. If you stay in that box, though, that is a problem. If your life as a gamer is finding your box, staying with it, and then from that point, right, for the rest of your life, never changing, never exploring, never discovering, then my belief is that that's a problem. I feel like you have shortchanged yourself in your approach to gaming as part of your life. You know, I found a box for a long period of time, but then I hit a point where I was like, you know, I've stayed off of gas games. You know, I don't understand why people enjoy them. I don't get it. Right. So I went on a walkabout and I explored it, and I found that there were things about it that I enjoyed. I left story-driven games for a very long time, and then I came back. For a very long time, almost forever, I said I don't like JRPGs. Right. Then I just spent a year. I said, look, let me choke down the oatmeal. Like, I know that I'm not going to like it right at first, because I've historically said that I don't, but I went out and tried an experiment, and I found things that I love in it. Like, if you don't spend your life, I'm sorry, this is a soapbox and I admit it, but I'm saying, if you don't spend your life in a state of discovery about games, and if you don't go through different evolutionary arcs in your life as a gamer, like experiencing different manners of enjoying and diving deep into the art, then I think you've missed a huge point of participating in an artistic medium. But that's just me.
Yeah, I don't disagree. And look, I think many of us have experienced those ruts, right, where we are not feeling it. Maybe take a break, right? Or maybe try to discover other types of games that might be of interest, or just to try something new. I've certainly done that. There was a period where I didn't want to play open world action adventure games or RPGs. I was burnt out. I remember, and part of it was my own fault, my own doing, because I decided to play The Witcher 3 and then jump into I think I played Persona and then Horizon Zero Dawn, I think, back to back or something. So it was like those, you know, long RPGs open. Like, I got burned out. And you know what I did, Logic? I was going through my backlog of games. I'm like, well, maybe I should go back to a game that I've played that I know I'm going to enjoy. And believe it or not, I actually picked up Rise, Son of Rome. I still had it for the Xbox One. And I went and played that, and I had a blast. It was like perfect palate cleanser for me. You know? So sometimes you have to do that, I think. You know? Let me grab these super chats here. Borber Cotry, the $2 super chat says, I take issue with your definition of great games. Thank you for that super chat, Borbor. I don't know what definition you're talking about.
Yeah, he's just with us, and let us say Welcome back, and it's good seeing you. We miss you, Borbor, when you're not around. So
yeah, I don't see Borbor much.
We appreciate the famous Borbor country.
Yeah, I don't see him here a lot. Street Shadow with the $5 super just says, now that tariff price increases are here, plus $50 for PS5 is lower than I thought, honestly. I still believe GTA 6 is going to bump sales a ton. Yeah, I don't disagree with that, Street Shadow. I think maybe I said that earlier. I do think there's going to be a bump with a big release like GTA 6.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree.
All right, Logic. We have some news from Xbox. The ROG Xbox Ally launches October 16th. Get ready to play. Now, I don't think this was confirmed earlier in the day, and I haven't followed up on this, but I did see some rumored price leaks of $900 for the high-end SKU. And
those are rumors, are they, Brett? I thought those were the pre-order prices.
Maybe they are. Well, I don't know. I haven't. Earlier in the morning, I saw that as rumor. Maybe it's been confirmed since. But I don't see it here. I think Wario may have put something that maybe Best Buy had a placeholder for.
Yeah, I'll fact check on Best Buy while you're going through the story.
Yeah, but the ROG, I always call the ROG Ally Xbox, the ROG Xbox Ally and ROG Xbox. I can't even talk. I don't like these names. The ROG Xbox Ally and ROG Xbox Ally X launch. God, I hate the names. Launch October because I can't say them. Launch October 16th with expanded day one availability. We're also announcing new handheld experiences today, including the handheld compatibility program with next level performance and purpose-built features. These handhelds give players more ways to play anytime, anywhere. Xbox goes on to say, together with Asus, we're launching these devices on October 16th. Oh, I already read that. The devices deliver an era of handheld gaming that makes it easier than ever to access your favorite games from Xbox, Battle.net, and other leading PC storefronts wherever you go.
Yeah, this is really weird. I believe those are official prices. I'm seeing them on Best Buy, but I'm seeing really wonky pickup dates. So this does list the ROG Ally X at $899. Yeah, I'll check around for a little more, but go ahead.
Now I'm actually like trying to look for it now too. I didn't see anything else. And I'm looking at Best Buy here. Yeah, I see the ROG Ally X, the 1080p handheld for $899.
Yeah, that's what I saw too. But there were funky things, like the pickup dates and stuff were like
yeah. This one says only one left in store.
Yeah,
that can't be right. Yeah, I that's really weird.
And then the Ally, like the listing for the Ally was funky too. So yeah, it was just weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll keep looking around.
Yeah, I did actually see the ROG Ally at a Best Buy. I hadn't seen it before in person. And it's funny, my 6-year-old was like, "Oh, can I get this?" I'm like, "Dude, are you serious? Like this thing's like $900. I'm not buying this for you." And I picked it up, and I gotta say, I didn't really care for I didn't really care for the feel of the. I thought it was, in comparison to the Switch, right? Where the Switch is thinner, not as bulky. Yeah, I just don't see myself. And again, I'm admitting I'm not the consumer for this. I just don't care for the form factor. It's not the way I would want to experience games. I think maybe if there's someone who prefers accessibility on the fly, they're gaming on their couch, that's fine. But again, I'm admitting I'm not the target demo. I don't see this as the most optimal way for me to have a gaming experience. I prefer to sit in front of my 65-inch OLED, fire up my PC or my Xbox, or not my Xbox, my PlayStation 5 Pro, and game that way. I do the same thing with my Nintendo Switch. I rarely ever use it in handheld mode, always primarily docking mode. But But that's just me. Again, but it is a great looking device. When I saw it at Best Buy, I was like, okay, this is actually a nice looking device. Looks high end, sleek. It's a good looking device.
I guess these are still leaks because the official Best Buy page doesn't have the prices posted.
Yeah, so this probably means that the Steam Deck is out of the picture for me too, Logic.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah, I mean, look, PC handheld gaming is, you know, I don't know. I think that whole modality of playing in handheld has to be a thing that you find enjoyable, and it's not the mainstream. Right? As much as we did this with 3D TVs, we did this with VR.
Did you buy into the whole 3D TV?
No.
Okay. You know who did?
Who you did?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I had the high end glasses. I had I mean, look, I had a 55-inch Panasonic ST50 that came with 3D, and I upgraded the glasses and was watching stuff in 3D, and I was like, oh, this is awesome, and then the market said no.
Yeah, I mean, this is I don't. These devices aren't for everyone. I don't agree with the perspective that these are gateway drugs, to at a mass market level, for people to get into PC gaming.
That would be a very expensive gateway drug, by the way.
Right. I think they're still incredibly niche. I think there's this thought that because there's been such solid uptake of the Switch, that's proof that there's a market for handhelds, and there's always been a market for handhelds. There is a niche market for handhelds, but there's not a mass market for handhelds. There's a mass market for the Nintendo Switch. There's a mass market for Nintendo handhelds. There's not a mass market for everybody and their mother to make handhelds. So it's gonna be super interesting. Well, I guess this is Xbox's approach to the handheld.
Nintendo also has its exclusives too. That's part of it.
Well, BRAP exclusives are dead.
Oh yeah, that's right. People bought the Switch too for their friends list,
or because their friends were already on the platform.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, then I think there's another notion that there's going to be appeal generated because Microsoft is going to kind of flatten the wrinkles of the UI experience on top of Windows. I don't think that's going to be the big get that people think that it's going to be. Look, at the end of the day, here's my thing with anything that's a PC is those of us who live in the PC space, those of us who have spent our lives troubleshooting computers, there's a threshold and a level that we think of as the norm, and that is a threshold of finagling and dorking around with something that exceeds what a normal wants. And I think what people don't understand is that over time we have constantly, and I probably say it too, right, with with certain modulation on it, where I say, the farkling around that you have to do with a PC has gotten less and less over time, right, from a certain aspect. Quite honestly, I think what has honestly happened is that ping pong ball has just moved, right? So the things you used to have to farkle with, you don't have to farkle with, but now you have to farkle around with other mess. But I think what people don't understand when we talk about mass market traction is that the mass market, the farkling must be zero, right? It can't be less than, right? It used to be, it needs to be zero. Because when you come at it from the perception of when it was really, really, really bad, right? And now it's better. That's not how a normal sees it. A normal sees it as there's one iota of overhead beyond just coming home, hitting the power button, sitting down in their gaming chair or on their couch, picking up a controller and starting the game. And even if you do all this crazy stuff about changing the launch, changing the launch sequence and whatever, so it looks like it feels like a console, you have to get to that point. And the other thing is that if that boot up sequence takes 60 seconds and the boot up sequence on a console takes 22 seconds, they still see that as a delta, right? So, you know, I mean, I'll be very interested to see Microsoft make an effort to get, getting to a Windows PC and getting that to a point where it feels like it's zero, or that it's 1-to-1 with a console. That'll be an interesting journey to see them go through. I don't know when they're going to get there. And then you still have to defeat the problem of, okay, it's quick to get into a game, right? But then what's the reliability factor of your ability to stay in a game, right? To stick with a game, to transition from one game to the next game, to not have something blow up in your face based on the PC complexity underpinnings. So, we'll see. I mean, I'm glad they're putting in the effort. I'm glad they're making the investment. It's going to be a lengthy journey, I think, to finally get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. That journey's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out if they are able to get that 1-to-1 experience, right, with the console. But again, as I said earlier, like it's not. I think some of the assessments that I've read or that I've heard certain content creators make about how successful this thing is, look, I've been on gaming Twitter for 12 years, and I could tell you with great confidence that when a certain community or a certain communities, influencers, podcasters start making these claims that that this thing is going to be big, the opposite tends to happen. So the track record isn't good. So I'll leave it at that. But
yeah, and I mean, like I wrote a few weeks ago, I was like, look, the day Xbox sells 80 million things that are PCs that it calls an Xbox, then we'll have a different conversation. But I think it's going to be a long period of time, before we get there, right? 80 million things that people accept as like the new console,
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I do want to go to Gamescom Logic. Opening night live happened yesterday. And like I said earlier, I gotta give my flowers to Keighley. I mean, the man is working hard. He's putting on some great shows. There's no E3. He's kind of stepped in, filled the gap, the vacuum of E3. But I thought I really enjoyed opening night live. There's a lot of games that were shown off. There were some TV series debuted, season 2, Fallout. Did you watch the season 1 of Fallout?
Do we really need to do this live on air?
Oh, I don't remember. Okay, that's probably a no.
No, I have zero interest in video game.
All right.
TV series and movies, unless they really pierce the veil, right, to being like really.
They're good.
Like, I should
Fallout's
say
good. Fallout's good.
I shouldn't say that. I don't have interest in these things solely because they are video games, and so, if they pierce the veil of gaining my interest, then I'll go over and check them out. I know Slow-Mo has issued me a challenge on DPS that like before I can come on DPS again, I have to watch at least one. I started up Twisted Metal the other night, but then I started I wasn't able to get into it. I got Peacock on my phone, logged into it because it had been a while since I'd watched anything on Peacock, and then I got a bunch of like flurry of text messages and stuff that I had to deal with, so I didn't get to it. But I am planning on peeking into that and checking out it. I didn't realize they're only 30 minutes in episodes, and that also makes it a lot more digestible for me.
Yeah, it's not like an hour episode.
Yeah, I'm not like Fallout is not like
Fallout.
It's not a huge thing. I told
Fallout.
you I was often very, very confused before the acquisition. In fact, it's the studios that are not part of like Sony and Xbox that I often have the greatest. Like I never understood the trying to figure out a polite way to put it. The hero worship of Todd Howard in Bethesda. Like I never got it, and I always said those fans were going to get their comeuppance, and then they got Fallout 76. I was like, see, this is because you let Todd and his boys get away with their BS.
Look
for so many years.
Look. I was one of those fans. God bless. I was. I mean, how could you not? Bethesda. I mean, the House of Elder Scrolls, Fallout. Yeah, and then Fallout 76 came out, and they just dropped the giant turd. Although they did a lot to fix the game, but still, I mean, yeah, it definitely made me think differently about Bethesda for sure. But actually, I really do. The adaptation of Fallout's of the Fallout TV show is actually really good. It really, I would say it's probably my second favorite television show or adaptation of a video game. The Last of Us would be number one, but Fallout is I loved it. I think it was great, and I love the trailer. They're going back to Vegas. Kind of makes you want to go play Fallout New Vegas, but it's not. Fallout New Vegas just doesn't perform well on PC. At least it didn't when I played it last, but maybe that's changed. But yeah, I was excited to see that. I really was. And then there was the anime of Sekiro. They show that Shadows Die Twice anime. That's actually going to be exclusive to Crunchyroll, which I'm not happy about, by the way, Logic. I'm going to write Crunchyroll and ask him to tear down that wall, Mr. Gorbachev, because it's unfair. It's anti-consumer that Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is paywalled as an exclusive to Crunchyroll. It should be on Netflix. It should be on Amazon Prime. It should be on ESPN. It should be on my local Channel 4 station, NBC. It should be on PBS. It should be everywhere.
So I'm gonna ask you, because I think you were one of the people who is actively engaged in ruining games trade shows, gaming events, because you're accepting of this, and we kind of went through this in the comic book world a few years ago. We complained because at SDCC, Chicago Comic-Con, New York Comic-Con, those things stopped being about the comic book content creators.
I know where you're going with this.
It became much more about like the next MCU thing that was coming,
the next shows,
thing, even to a certain extent, like the next like video game, right? That was coming, So here you are, you out here, right? Gamescom opening night live should be about video games,
but it is about video games,
and so, well, I want to ask you that. Do you not feel sullied? Do you not feel ashamed? Do you not feel like you need to take a shower? Like we're raising up as like the biggest thing out of the show. Like you literally start the Gamescom coverage, opening night live coverage with the television shows.
Well, there's a reason for that, Logic. I'm looking at CNET, and CNET started out with the video with the TV shows.
This is my case in point, BRAP.
So you blame CNET. Don't blame BRAP. Blame CNET. I had nothing. I was going to start off with Ninja Gaiden 4 because I'm really excited about Ninja Gaiden 4, but no, it just happened. If you see it here, it's in order. Fallout Season 2.
I'm going to write Jeff Keighley. I'm going to write Jeff Keighley, and I'm going to tell him Gamescom opening night live, the TGAs, the Summer Game Fest should be about video games first, right? In television shows and animes and all that stuff second.
So wait, Logic. Excuse me. Sorry, I didn't have coffee today. Are you saying then that you would like to see? You don't want to see any film or television adaptation of a video game on stage. And I'm being bold faced for real right now, right? I believe you. Yeah.
So there's all this stuff that happens off stage. There's all this stuff that happens in like the pre-roll, right before the actual event starts, before Keighley comes on stage. There's stuff that happens like the day before. There's like all that's my personal feeling. Like all this stuff, that's where I would like to see all that go. I don't personally need, a 5-minute spot in Gamescom opening night live taken up by Fallout Season 2. Personally, I would rather there are a few games that I'll recognize them when they come by. And they were, granted, they were, most of them were like smaller games and stuff, but I would rather see that stuff pushed off. We've had years where like Xbox and PlayStation have done showcases, or PlayStation State of Play, in or around Summer Game Fest, and like a major bit of gaming news, right, or a release or something was shown at some like pre-event, like the day before or something like that. And like somebody would mention it, I was like, I didn't see that during the thing, and so we'd have to go like hunt that down. And I'm like, when stuff like that is happening, or at the TGAs, we have people on the side stage with Sydney Goodman, right? Who now those people don't like. There was one year that they came up on the side stage to get their awards. Then I think last year they didn't even. Those people don't even come up anymore, right? They just read them off, right? But yet we give airtime to like television shows, and I'm like, me personally, I'm over that. I don't need that stuff. But that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand perspective. I wouldn't want it to become to turn to something like Comic-Con. If it did, I would probably take issue. I would take issue with it, but right now, as it is, like I'm okay with it. Seeing and because like I know that I'm never gonna get like for Sekiro, for example, we're not gonna get a sequel to Sekiro, right? So to see Sekiro live on and on television in the form of anime. And Splinter Cell got announced too, by the way, an anime series on Netflix, which I thought was pretty cool. That was announced as well. Although we're apparently supposed to get a Splinter Cell game. Who knows if that's happening still. But as a fan of Sekiro, like seeing Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, seeing it, because again, not getting we're not going to get a sequel, but seeing this, seeing a anime adaptation of the game, I'm like, oh, this is great. The game's living on now. Maybe not in its original form in interactive entertainment or in an interactive medium like gaming, but now it's living in television. And I think that's really cool.
Isn't there something like an anime con, or like isn't there a Crunchyroll con or something? Like, can't you guys just go watch that over there?
Oh man!
Why do you have to put your anime in my video games?
So now you're gatekeeping. Oh my. No, I think it's great. Again, if it became like Comic-Con, I don't disagree with you, Logic. Like I don't need to see Morton Downey Jr. like reveal that now he's playing Wolverine. You know what I mean? Like I don't need to see that. But again, I thought it was awesome. Like I love seeing Fallout Season 2 and then Sekiro. There was also the performance of I forgot who it was for Claire Obscure Expedition 33.
Is her name
Alicia
song?
Yeah. Trying to find. I don't think that's here. I think this is all just trailers. Yeah, mostly trailers here. And I put CNET. CNET actually, in true BRAP fashion, by the way, Logic. CNET put the biggest announcements, which happen to be like big AAA games that I like. So, but we got to see a brief look at Resident Evil Requiem. I don't know about Resident Evil 9. I don't know. I might get a little Resident Evil fatigue. Maybe I think I am. Any interest in that game, Logic?
Interest, I don't know that I'll be like, in like the first wave, of people playing it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of iffy on that one. Although the last two were great. I'm not going to get but then like eight was like, I was like, 7. I think for me, 7 had more of, 7 definitely had more of an impact for me than 8, because 7 was to me a return to the franchise being really good again.
Yes, but also because it didn't do what the franchise had classically done, which is a little weird. Which is a little weird for me to say. That's true, yeah. Because historically, what I've always said is, to me, Resident Evil lives in Raccoon City, and whenever they leave Raccoon City and they're not in Raccoon City, I'm less interested. And so 7 was weird because they weren't in Raccoon City, right? And I feel like I should be super excited about them going back to Raccoon City, but well, it's funny now that I've gone on this tirade about movies, right? The one Resident Evil movie that I feel like was not good, but at least they were in Raccoon City was the very first Resident Evil. I also love Colin Salmon, who was the black guy who was the head of like the Spec Ops team that went down there. He's always been a favorite. He was a favorite of mine. Then when he went into the James Bond movies, and he was a favorite of mine on Green Arrow, or not on Green Arrow, but on Arrow. So, like, I feel like I should be excited about them going back to Raccoon City, but them going back to Raccoon City with an FBI agent who's not like a field agent, like, and it's not kind of, it's not a bunch of badasses going back to Raccoon City, right? That's what I want to see. And
you want to see Leon guns blazing.
I understand. Like, we're not going to do Leon, right? Because Leon wouldn't be scared of everything. Like, he's so I kind of get that, but this is to like the far left of the spectrum. And I'm not disinterested. I'm just not as hyped, right, as I might have been otherwise.
Yeah, going back to 7 though, you bring up a great point about 7. It wasn't in Raccoon City. I think that was the first time. I'm showing my age here. That was the first time they adopted first-person view, right?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Resident Evil 7, like they had never. It's always been in the third person.
Yes.
And RE7 was first person. And so that was, I think that was, so that made that game a bit more immersive, I thought.
Well, and I think
kind of amplified that that
psychological horror.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. By having it in first person. And of course it borrowed from not games, but movies like, at least remind me of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre a little bit.
Yeah. The Hills Have Eyes.
Oh, The Hills Have Eyes. Yes. And then there was that freaky lady in the wheelchair who, I won't spoil it, but would just like used to scare the shit out of me in RE7. But yeah, RE8 was okay, but I don't know. I just don't. I'm on the fence with this one. It could be like I'm maybe there's some fatigue, some survival horror fatigue with me, because I feel like there's been so many survival horror games. I did go back and play Dead Space was it remaster or remake? There was another one I played a while ago. Anyhow, I don't know. I may check it out, but we'll see. And then we got the announcement for Black Myth Wukong. Zong, I can't even pronounce it. I'm not gonna try to pronounce it. Again, I said this earlier. I think it's great. Game Science. Clearly, they've had some success. They had success with Black Myth Wukong. I think it's great that they are releasing a sequel. There was an announcement of a crossover between Monster Hunter Wilds and Final Fantasy 14. Both games will get content from each other. There's a trailer. I'm not going to play that. Silent Hill F. Another trailer, another horror game. I don't know. What do you think about this one, Logic? I think again, I don't know. I'm not. Silent Hill. The original Silent Hills are great. I'm gonna play this trailer. I just don't know if I'm. Hold on a second. I don't know if
Yeah, I'm not.
this one.
I'm just not the target audience. I'm not a huge survival horror fan, and I've never been a Silent Hill fan.
Oh, you've never really liked Silent Hill?
No. Not that I didn't like it. Just that it was. It's just never gotten me to like get off the couch, and toggled enough of my interest level to go check it out.
Okay. Onimusha. I do want to talk about Onimusha. What'd you think of Onimusha?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm here for this one. I've been hyped about it. So it's a venerable series. I don't know how well this sold, but I just always felt that it was a series that not enough people played. Of course, it kind of really got its start as like the alt Resident Evil, and I think for that reason, not a lot of people It just didn't hit a lot of people's interest bubble. But I've always been a huge fan of the series, since the beginning. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. I've been looking forward to it since it was first revealed.
It's interesting. You mentioned kind of like, what did you say? Like the,
it was like the all
Resident
Evil when it first came
out.
It
always, it always incorporated like elements of like supernatural horror.
Yeah, I mean the first one was to me this may not be a perfect description, but it was still kind of tank controls. It was a lot of weird camera angles when you went into rooms.
Yeah.
It was, you were kind of always, depending on what combat you got involved in a room, you could be, just kind of play, deliberately by the game, like placed at a disadvantage from like the fixed camera angle off on like some weird aspect. But still, I always loved the lore. It is steeped in like Japanese, culture. So it's just been always a thing that I've always enjoyed. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, feudal Japan. Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought it again, definitely a game I'm looking forward to. I don't think we have a release date on this one, right?
On Onimusha?
Yeah.
I think it's just 2026.
Okay. Yeah, not a Souls-like game, by the way.
No, I feel like it evokes, right, a lot of the feeling of a Souls-like, but yeah.
Yeah, no, it does. That, the one-on-one sword battles, there's some precision timing, stuff like that. I mean, but definitely not a Souls game or Souls-like game. Let's see here. Now, Logic, I'm excited for this one right here. Ninja Gaiden 4. Team Ninja Platinum Games. Join forces. I don't know, what do you think about Ninja Gaiden 4? Hey, look, I said this to you earlier. It's got, if you play previous Gaidens, very violent, visceral in combat. That's still here. You'll see it right here in the gameplay. But, a lot of this reminds me, and I said this to you earlier, some of the kind of has that fluid platinum, combat that Platinum's known for. It reminds me a bit of Astral Chain a bit in some ways. What do you think?
Yeah, I warmed up to it after seeing this spot at Gamescom. Like you said, it feels like what I'm seeing is a little more Platinum Games combat style than Team Ninja combat style. That being said, you and I spoke earlier today. I'm like, my hope is like I've never been particularly happy with some of the Platinum Games puzzles that they've put in your windshield, that you had to get by to progress the game. So as long as that hasn't made its way into here, then I still don't know that this is a likely pickup for me, but I'm definitely more encouraged to maybe check it out from what I've seen here. Yeah,
I feel like it just, this is I'm just going back to 1 sec here. I'm just going back to what I remember from previous Gaiden games, and I think I went back and played the Gaiden remaster that came out on Xbox Game Pass a couple months ago, and camera angle is always an issue. At times it's fluid, but then it's not as fluid as I think like some of the Platinum games are, and that's where this game at least seems to be a bit more fluid. You got the more fluid like combat animations than what I remember from other Gaiden games. And I think in part because the Gaiden games, the more recent ones, just had issues with the camera angle. It used to always mess me up, where I felt like I had to like refocus the camera. But this one comes out October 21st, does release day and date in Game Pass. I'm definitely looking forward to this. I'm really happy that Gaiden, I just confirmed it. Yeah, releases October 21st. on PS5, Xbox X and S, day one Game Pass and PC. Yeah, I don't know. This looks like it's. I think this game looks fun to me. Again, it gives me some of the Platinum Games vibes with games like Astral Chain. One of the things I like about the guiding games is you can chain those you can kind of chain attacks and things like that to use like attack chains, right? That lead to like bigger attacks, kind of like what we see in Devil May Cry. All right, let's see here. It's my Guiding 4 might be my game of the year, Hamp. I'm just throwing that out there. It hasn't even come out yet. I'm throwing that out.
Yeah, that's bait.
That's bait. Oh, it's like that. It's like that Mad Max gif. That's bait. All right, we did see another trailer from Ghost of Yote, and there's going to be that game's coming out October 2nd, and they did announce a DLC. Ghost of Yote Legends is coming 2026. That is the co-op multiplayer, which I really enjoyed in Ghost of Tsushima. I thought it was really good. Forget this is Keely talking here. Hold on a second. Let me pull this up. All right. We don't want to watch you, Keely. Let me move this up.
Yeah, while you're pulling it up, I want to say there's an informal term that people use to refer to like games like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta. I think they're called like spectacle brawlers.
Yeah, I could see that because they are like spectacle brawlers.
Yeah.
These big, cinematic boss battles,
flashy,
all these particle effects.
It's a lot of stylism.
A lot of stylism, yeah. Sometimes it's very over the top.
Yes,
you start
overload.
Yeah. Oh my God, it is. It's like, what did Dante just do? You see all these combos. Whoa, slow down. I think Ghost of Yote looks great. By the way, I'm really excited for this game. And again, this is why I'm happy about a PlayStation 5 Pro. But
yeah, I mean, this is going to be peak, when it drops.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, I think it looks great. This is definitely day one for me. I did actually pick up the mask, the Yote mask, which you see here. I did pick that up in Death Stranding too. It's actually an item that you can get. So, yeah, no, I'm just looking at this. I just remember watching this and I'm like, yeah, this is as you said, Logic, it's peak. It's gonna be a great game.
It is going to be hard for me to find time to get to it. Once I've enlisted in Helldivers 2, which I have pre-ordered on the Xbox.
All right, so you are picking up Helldivers. Comes out this month,
next week. Yeah,
next week.
ODST in one of the biggest weeks of the year. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, I gotta be honest. That's actually kind of cool to see. Them partnering up with 343i and Halo and ODST for the release of Helldivers on Xbox. I thought that was actually a pretty cool announcement. Now, I don't know if I'm going to
maybe Xbox is starting to understand culture.
Oh my God. I know what
Shout out to the great EJ.
Yeah, shout out to Eric Jackson, who used to say that PlayStation seemed to have a better pulse on gaming culture. No, but I think that's awesome. Like watching that trailer, the ODST and Helldivers. I thought that was really cool. I don't think I'm not going to go back to Helldivers, but I'm just I'm curious to see like what it does in terms of engagement numbers on the Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be an interesting play. Paid game up against everything in Game Pass coming in at the fall. And not even make knocks on Xbox, but I mean, literally coming out in the biggest release week I think that we've seen, this year. So it's going to be super interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah. Speaking of big releases, Call of Duty Black Ops 7. I gotta say, I like what I'm seeing from the campaign. I actually like the fact that the campaign is going to feature 4-player co-op, which I think is kind of awesome. I am what is did Slobo try to, speaking of bait, I think Slobo was asking if you're going to play the multiplayer.
No, that
Black
was
Ops 6.
that was me who put the call out.
Oh, that was you. Oh,
who put the call out for the squad to get back together.
Oh yeah,
So the four of us can play through the co-op campaign.
Yeah, we absolutely should.
So Slomo's response, because I said, look, I will play the co-op campaign with you guys, but I'm not sticking around for the multiplayer. And he said, I don't believe you.
He did say that.
And I get it. Look, I have been a Call of Duty head for 6 years, and finally, largely due to Expedition 33, I've said, it's time for me to put, Call of Duty and gas games in general. I mean, I was a big Call of Duty head, but I was also playing, World of Warships, World of Tanks, Destiny 2 in the earlier part of that. So I've said I'm going to put that stuff aside. So we're going to see. But yeah, while you're continuing to go through that, it took me a while to get to my list. But again, biggest week of the year next week. You've got Gears of War Reloaded on PS5, Xbox, and PC. Helldivers 2 coming to Xbox. Kirby and the Forgotten Land Nintendo Switch 2 edition coming to the Switch 2. Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater next week for PS5, Xbox, and PC. Lost Soul Aside for PS5 and PC. And that's after a week where we've had sort of C-Drop on the PS5. And then you also have Shinobi, Art of Vengeance, next week on the PS5, Switch, and Xbox and PC. So lots of people are going to have a lot of choices to make next week. And like I said, Helldivers 2, all full respect for, everybody involved trying to make a go at it. But, you're releasing in an incredibly busy week. So, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it kind of begs the question, are there just too many games? Is that the problem?
There's a lot of inventory, way more inventory than there is demand.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I mean, August is a stacked month for games.
Yeah, like Madden just came out next week. We got Football Club coming out here soon. And again, you can feel a certain way about those games, but those games suck a lot of the air out of the room. I haven't seen the release date for NBA 2K, but obviously that's got to be dropping
around
shortly
the corner
as well.
Yeah, that's definitely around the corner. There's just there's a lot of content right now.
And you've got a fall now where now you have both Battlefield and COD dropping, whereas in recent years past, we haven't had a new Battlefield, right? So, yeah.
When was the last Battlefield game?
Well, I mean that Battlefield was 2023.
Oh my God, Hamp! I want to pull up August release dates here, man. This is nuts, man.
Or maybe it was older. Like I said, I don't keep up with Battlefield as much. So was the last Battlefield 5 and it dropped before 2023?
Yeah. Yeah, we've had Mafia: The Old Country, Madden coming out, Hellblade 2 Enhanced Edition, Delta Force, Sword of the Sea just came out. Have you played that? You did pick it up. You bought it.
I did.
Right?
I did pick it up. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet. Yeah. And again, I'm way wrong on Battlefield, and I do apologize for that. But I think I am. Or was the last one Battlefield 5 in 2018?
I don't think so. Was it?
That can't be right.
No.
I wish B-Money was here. He's the Battlefield expert.
Yeah. Let me see here. No, there was 2042 or something. 20.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe that was the one that was 20. Yes, that was 2021. So it's been 4 years.
It's been 4 years. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, it's the first time we're going to have Battlefield releasing in the same window as Call of Duty. But yeah, Sword of the Sea, Black Myth Wukong, which we talked about earlier. Gears of War Reloaded, August 26th. Helldivers 2, August 26th. I mean, just a lot of games. You mentioned Kirby, Metal Gear Solid, Snake Eater, Shinobi, Art of the Vengeance. I forgot about that. That's coming out. The new CFDs expansion. Just a lot of content. Look, and then September you have Indiana Jones, Order of the Giants, that DLC. Just a lot of games. Just stacked. Look at this. Look at September. Yeah, I don't know how people can say there's nothing to play for those people who do say that, because there's a ton of stuff that's coming out.
Yeah, so for Gamescom, I mean, lots of good stuff being, that was shown. I personally kept my watch list really, really short, just because I feel like from between Summer Game Fest, Future Game Show, State of Play, all the shows earlier this year, I had some really long lists of things I was already keeping an eye on. So there were definitely things that caught my interest, but I felt like everything that I saw was like next year, or there wasn't a release date. So I was like, well, there's time for those things to come across my windshield again. So actually, quite honestly, the only thing I put down on my watch list was Black Ops 7, just because of the co-op campaign. I was super excited about the Dawn of War 4 coming out next year. So being a PC main and somebody who just kind of like fell in love again, right, with RTSs when Dawn of War came around. And I don't think we realized that game, which I think was, I need to go back and look. I believe it was Relic, who did that game. I think in hindsight, like that, it was that game that kicked off this whole like Warhammer 40,000 kind of renaissance that we've been in for about 20 years. That was really the game that kind of kicked it off and started it all, I think. We talked about Onimusha. One thing that kind of caught my eye was Arknight's Enfield, which is a little overly anime, kind of in the artistic style for me personally, but I thought it was super interesting that it seems like this mix between like some kind of action game and like a city builder. So I just kind of noted that down to kind of keep my eye on it to see, as we find out more about that game, exactly what the gameplay style is. Europa Universalis, which I am not a Europa Universalis fan, but just something about the reveal kind of caught my eye and made me more interested this year. And then, like you said, I am super interested in Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, but not for the 2026, or not for the release in September. I am interested in that game landing on the Switch 2.
Yeah, that was it. Were you surprised by that announcement, by the way? Like, I was kind of surprised that it's coming to the Switch.
No, I'm surprised. So what I've said since the Switch 2 launch is that, and the original Direct, right, earlier this year, I'm very surprised that there hasn't been Xbox support, publishing support on the platform. I'm very surprised that it hadn't been announced up to this date. I was expecting to hear something like at a Summer Games Fest or something earlier in the year. So it kind of surprises me that this is the first thing that shows up. I would have probably expected something smaller and not as graphically intensive. Like, I feel like South of Midnight would play great on the Nintendo Switch 2. So it surprises me that it's Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is a game that I haven't played it yet, but my understanding from all the pre-brief materials is that it is graphically intensive from a compute perspective. So
yes, that's why I'm surprised. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And I will be very surprised if there's no, well, maybe I shouldn't say that. So one of the things I've been curious to watch, and I haven't actively gone out and like tried to hunt it down, and it hasn't just natively come across my windshield. I was interested to see, so how many games are going to be cloud enabled from Switch to Switch 2, right? On Switch, we saw the trend that if you were a big game, if you were a compute intensive game, you would, that's where Ubisoft would step in and give the game cloud lift. And so I was expecting to see that continue onto the Switch 2, but I don't think we've seen any titles that have been specifically noted as being cloud enabled, right? So where part of their compute happens in the cloud. So maybe on Switch 2 they've stepped away from that. I mean, Cyberpunk doesn't rely on that. So yeah, it'll just be interesting. I'm hoping it's not. I'm not expecting great things from Indiana Jones and the Great Circle on the Switch 2. I'm just hoping it's serviceable enough to warrant, having it in a portable mobile package that I can take along with me. Because at face value, it doesn't feel like the type of game that would normally occupy my interest. When I have other things that I can play, at home, like in my man cave. But I could see me taking it with me on travel, like to pick away at it on the go. So interested to see that show up next year on Switch 2.
Yeah. Speaking of Indiana Jones, I mean, and I said this when the game first came out, but Troy Baker as Indiana Jones, I mean, he sounds just like Indiana Jones. He sounds like Harrison Ford. It's amazing. And then if you play Death Stranding 2, you listen to him as Higgs, completely different voice, right? I mean, I can't. I don't. I mean, he might be one of the most talented voice actors in gaming, or the most talented voice actor in gaming.
I do want to swing back right as we've rattled off like a lot of games and content, and mention again. I don't understand how there's this sentiment that. Yeah, I guess maybe I could see, gaming has been horrible this generation if you've just been on one platform.
But even if but how though? Like if you're one, I mean, you're still getting a lot of games, even if you're on one platform, though.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is, so if you're on one platform, and again, you're one of these archetypes that I talked about before, right, where you don't go out and explore and kind of stretch your wings, then maybe I could see, like if you're, again, I'm just picking right at a hand wavy example, but like if you're a huge racing fan and you're on Xbox and you've just gotten Forza Horizon 5 and Forza Motorsport, and Forza Motorsport wasn't great, the maybe you're unhappy, right? If you're on PlayStation 5, which, and again, I'm not saying that I agree with people who have this perspective, but I feel like I've seen this. Like if you're on PlayStation 5 and you wanted a new Naughty Dog game, right, and you're not getting a new Naughty Dog game until the back half of this generation, I could see where you might have a nit. But but my bigger point was I was trying to get to was also shout out to Eric's Home, which is a game that is a beautiful looking game that showed very well at Future Games Show in 2024 and again here in 2025, which I have picked up and I haven't had a chance to get around to. Innate, I think your co-host, she's Chill Bandit on Twitter. I think it's Morgan, picked it up and has played. I don't know if she's completed it, but I know she was playing some of it, and has spoken very highly of the game. So, yeah, that's another one. But yeah, in general, I agree with the sentiment that Chicago Bulls put in the chat. We're eating good this year, and I really don't understand how people are miserable in gaming. So miserable that their time needs to be spent picking apart performance videos and saying people lied.
That's my point. I mean, these people don't love video games. Or not, they're not playing. I'm convinced they're not playing video games. Because how could you be that miserable, that focused on things that are just, I don't know.
Yeah, or 6 weeks to 2 months spent, 6 weeks to 2 months spent obsessing over PlayStation going multi-platform.
Yeah, that's the other thing I don't like. Certain quote unquote gamers are more obsessed with whether or not PlayStation is copying Xbox. It's like, what? Like,
hey, by the way, shout out to Xbox for copying Steam or copying Valve and taking a page out of Valve's playbook. I meant to mention that when you talked about how part of the things about the ROG Ally X is shoot, what aspect was it you were talking about? And I know I've talked about, Xbox big picture mode. The handheld certification, the Windows handheld certification program, which is just like Steam Deck verification for Valve. So yeah, glad to see Xbox copying Valve. And Gabe Newell, who used to, who started Valve because he was an Xbox, because he was not an Xbox, he was a Microsoft employee.
He was a Microsoft employee, yeah.
He became dissatisfied and left, and then became one of their biggest competitors on the PC platform.
By the way, speaking of Valve, did you hear the rumor of a new Valve Steam box?
I mean, that rumor's. I mean, have we gotten more information that's corroborated? Because that rumor has been around for like 7 years.
Corroborated. Let me see if I can pull this article. WCC Tech, or what is it? WFFC Tech? I always forget.
WCCF Tech.
WCCF. Let's see here.
Was it in their news feed?
Hold on a sec here. I meant to talk to you about this earlier. Let me pull this up. All right, here we go. New Steam console powered by RDNA 4 might be in the works at Valve. According to a new rumor, Valve might be making a new Steam console. The info was relayed by renowned Spanish leaker Extus Ones, although it originates from the owner of Handheld.com, who found out that Valve is working on drivers for the upcoming RDNA 4-based AMD Radeon RX 9070 graphics cards due next month. Here's a translated excerpt from the YouTube video. It turns out that Valve is openly working on drivers for the AMD 9070 graphics card. These cards are currently designed just for desktop devices. These AMD 9070s are the first to feature RDNA 4 technology and FS4. So yeah, that's a scoop. This RDNA 4 architecture is currently designed only for desktops. It's expected that many years down the line, it may make its way to portable devices, but right now it's strictly desktop. Valve is already working on it. In fact, from what my friend has heard, Valve is putting a lot of effort to the drivers for these RX 9070 GPUs, the RDNA 4. The question he raises in his tweet, which we all might be wondering, is why Valve is so interested in collaborating on this.
So I
guess this is go ahead.
This is a February 2025 article.
Oh, is it? Okay. Yeah. It popped up. Okay. I'm sorry. It popped up. Actually, it popped up on my Twitter feed today. Yeah. So that's why I thought I didn't see it. Never mind.
I think this is part of what we've already known or heard, and kind of kicked off the fervor. I mean, but this is also why I say this whole thing about, Xbox trying to flatten the UI of Windows on handheld devices, and a lot of the moves they're making are much less about combating PlayStation, because they've kind of already lost that battle, but is much more so about fending off a potential assault from Valve, right? Because Valve now has its feet in the Steam Deck space, right? So it kind of, Windows devices have always been there, but Valve has pulled an Apple, right, where they've taken something that has been done before and really perfected it and really made it something that has caught a wider addressable market than any Windows handheld has before. Now, they're reaching out to Lenovo and getting them to put Steam OS, on handheld devices made by the classic Windows laptop vendor partners. And there's discussion of them, working on making that distribution more widely available to other vendor partners. And then there's this discussion that, does that allow them to platform off and put it onto desktops? And you can already run, I had built a couple of years ago, an Ubuntu box that ran Steam, but like Steam on Linux comes packaged with Proton, so it does a translation layer for all the Windows games. And so, before you would build a Linux box and you would basically only have access to the Linux games. But now you can build a Linux box and have access to like the vast majority of Windows games. Anything that's, that Steam Deck certified is going to run on a Linux box. So, the threat is much more real now. and Windows has created a lot of distaste in people's mouths, including mine, where it's just naggy. There's advertising in it. It just does a lot of I'm like, I've paid you for a license. I've paid you in excess of $100 for a license in some cases, because I build so many PCs that I haven't just slipstreamed my Windows 10 license right to a free Windows 11 upgrade. In a lot of the cases, these are paid licenses. And I'm like, you're still pushing stuff in my windshield as if like you gave it to me for free. And I'm like, you didn't. So, I built that Ubuntu box because I built it mostly because I was trying to take advantage of Radeon cards that I bought that I was not pleased with them running on Windows. But I also built it because I just get tired of like the naggy BS, right? When I just want to play my game. So, I mean, a lot of the things that they're doing are a lot more about trying to interdict Valve before they make a big push into their space, because like literally the only reason a large part of the addressable market now uses Windows is for gaming. And the only reason they use it is because there's not an alternative. Well, now there's an alternative. And that threat, I think, is very real. They've already lost the battle to PlayStation. So, what they really need to do and really need to get about the business of, which I think we see them doing now, is, getting into position to, be seen as a continued preferred solution to Steam, because now Steam has grown beyond just being a storefront, and into actually being a platform.
Yeah, absolutely. They're dominating that storefront. But you're right. No, that's a great point about they've become more than a storefront now. And as we know, they did try to release the Steam box years ago. Didn't work out. So it'd be interesting. Like I do wonder though if that's something that they would consider or maybe working on behind the scenes, especially like the rumor of this hybrid Xbox PC type situation that might happen this coming generation. So Logic, there was another. Oh, I mentioned Splinter Cell. Never mind. I was gonna say there's another gay anime that was announced, but that was I did mention that, so never mind. All right, Logic. That's it for topics tonight. I need to get back to playing Death Stranding 2. What do you have queued up for this weekend?
It's stuff I need to get back to Death Stranding 2 also. But look, I bought a lot of video games today.
You did, yeah.
And this isn't even the big release week.
Support those devs, man.
So I bought Sword of the Sea. I bought Madden 26 on the Xbox. I pre-ordered Helldivers 2 on Xbox. And I picked up MLB The Show 25 on Xbox as well because it was like 60% off. So it was like $28. So yeah, I've got a lot of stuff in my queue. So right now I'm planning on playing more Madden. After not having played Madden for years, I've been really happy with College Football 26 on the PS5 Pro, and I was like, maybe it's time to like go back and check Madden out. And I've only played one game, but I'm very pleased with what I've seen so far. I think this was also kindled because I was playing FC 25 on Game Pass, and I was like, and I'm spending more time. I mentioned this on Enough to Keep Going Sunday night. I'm spending more time being more. I'd kind of gotten in this mode where I was just like, I was getting back into sports games, but I was just surface skimming them. I was like, I don't want to be bothered with all the management and the front office stuff. I just want to go to the field and play the game, and I'll let the computer do all that. But I'm slowly picking like those little pieces apart, right, and drilling into it and finding that joy again. And in some ways, maybe this is kind of a placebo effect to coming off of gas games. So right now, what's in my queue right now is playing Madden, which I know sounds very basic, but it's where I am. Like I don't mind being a little basic after like not playing stuff like that for years. So, but yeah, that's what's in my queue right now. Probably DK Bonanza. I've also been playing DK Bonanza.
You did play
on the Switch
you did play that,
in handheld mode. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I thought about picking up Madden 26. I know my my oldest, not my oldest, but my 11-year-old. Well, actually, my oldest too. They want to play it, but I don't know. I thought it might be fun, maybe as one of those games just to play with them.
Well, it's when you do
Yeah.
when you need to buy Madden is you need to buy Madden during the years that that your team has a good overall rating. And I'll say
that would be the Commanders.
I
Yeah.
think the Commanders are like an 80. So I'm playing the Cincinnati Bengals. Their overall rating is 84. My next preseason game is actually against the Washington Commanders, and I think they're an overall rating of 83. So I'm very excited.
83.
Yeah,
What?
yeah.
We made it to the NFC Championship game.
Yeah, well, I mean the Philadelphia Eagles are only
Sounds like media bias.
the Philadelphia Eagles are only like 84 or 85 in their overall rating. So
really,
yeah. So I want to say
Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, BRAP, it's not. It doesn't scale that way. They don't take the Super Bowl team and say that team's 100.
I mean, they used to. They used to make them like 95, right? Like 90s or something.
You got to give room for Ultimate Team. That's what that's about.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because you can't have the Super Bowl champs at 95 and then the Ultimate Team like
got to make people buy some for stuff for Ultimate Team.
Oh yeah, so you got to dial that down so they can buy those that DLC
packs.
Open packs. Yeah, those open packs. Oh my gosh, my son! I bought Madden one year and he was doing that the open packs. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous.
Oh, speaking of Xbox, my Design Labs controller shipped. So,
oh, you did? So I'm thinking about getting one actually now.
Yeah. I'll post a pic of mine when I get mine. I usually get mine in like really super funky colors. I was a little more conservative this time and tried to really like color match like different parts of the controller. This is also probably going to be. I'm not going to say this is going to be my last one, but this is definitely not the heyday of like Game Logic having like 12 Xbox controllers. I'm getting rid of any of my older ones that have a micro USB power connector, just because more and more that's becoming like a pain in the butt to charge those. So I just decided, well, I'm just going to USB-C. I'm also not using Xbox controllers on PC anymore. I'm using the 8-bit Do Ultimate Wireless Controller 2. So I've been slowly replacing those. But yeah, I went ahead and ordered a Design Labs controller just to kind of fill out my my USB-C controllers for Xbox. So yeah, that's on its way.
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm thinking about doing a Design Labs one now. Now that you've got one, and now that it's back, I think it's cool they brought it back. So I may do that. My favorite Xbox controller today is still the Forza controller. The one looks like I don't know how to describe it.
Oh yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
I have a Thrustmaster one that's in like the Forza 5 colorways. Did you ever get a Starfield controller? I thought you got a Starfield controller.
Yeah, I have one. I was gonna say that's my second favorite. Yeah, the Starfield controllers are great. Those would be my two favorite Xbox controllers that I have. Now, are they doing you could also do Design Lab for the Elite controllers too, right?
Yeah, that was the big change. I thought they made that a little while ago, but yeah, historically you have never been able to do Design Labs for the Elite controller. So part of the Elite update, part of the Design Labs update was that you would be able to, but I thought that had rolled out a while ago, but so I was caught off guard by this whole like the Design Lab is back open. I thought it had reopened a while ago with your ability to do Elite controllers, but maybe that's just now, or maybe they did some other update on top of that. But of recent updates, that has been the big changes. You can finally get Elite controllers done in whatever colorways you want.
Yeah. Man, I gotta get back to Death Stranding 2. Kojima put out a behind the scenes footage of performance capture for Death Stranding 2. And it looks it's really cool. It's really cool. I still don't this I think I'm getting closer to the end of the game now, but I great game, but it's probably not gonna be my game of the year. It's still gonna go to Expedition 33. I'm telling you, Logic, that the performance at Gamescom, I got a little choked up. I'm not gonna lie, I got a little choked up. Very moving performance.
Yeah, I wanted, this is not a knock on the performance. I wanted like more. Like I wanted more than one song. I wanted a bigger orchestral set too. Like I got very addicted to those soundstage videos that they posted on YouTube of like, all their recording sessions. With their I don't know what you call it, their whatever, their ensemble or whatever, of different sections of instruments and stuff. So yeah, I was hoping for something that big. I still would love to see uh the Expedition 33 people perform with Flute Guy. So that's what I was
Flute
hoping
guy
for.
back. That's funny. I mean, like literally, they're performing that song, Alicia, and I am thinking about. I know we talked about this, but I was thinking about Alicia's interaction with Gustav, and some of the memorable dialogue and scenes in that game. Yeah, it just I've always enjoyed the soundtrack. This just gave me, I don't know, watching this performance just gave me even a greater appreciation of the music and of the game overall. It just I didn't realize how much I connected with that game. I mean, I knew I did, but I didn't realize how, like, it just, I was like, wow, like this game is really, it really hit me in a way that many games just, well, any game this year at least, um, it hit me in a way that no game has this year, emotionally. Um, and there's very few games I think that have done that over the 38, 40 years that I've been playing video games that I can think of. There might be a handful of games.
Yeah, and that reminds me, there was some trailer that I saw during Gamescom opening night live that had one character who, it was like the camera kind of flashed in. It was kind of like the camera was like above him in the air, and it looked down on him, and he was looking up at the camera. And I was like, when he looked up at the camera, I was like, that looks like the same like mocap actor for, or maybe like face actor for Renoir. Like I can't remember what game it was, but I was like, that dude looks exactly like Renoir. Um, so I don't know. It'll be, so. My main point is it'll be interesting to see if other cast members. I mean, we know Jennifer English is showing up in other stuff, and Ben Starr showing up in other stuff. It'd be interesting if Charlie Cox shows up in other stuff. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this cast goes on, and if they land other gigs and what other games they show up in.
Yeah, yeah. And it says Expedition 33 is one of the top games of the generation easily. Yeah. I mean, it's up there. It's up there. I mean, I've had Baldur's Gate 3 is my game of the generation. I don't know. Could be Expedition 33 now. So all right, Logic, on that note, I don't have any other topics tonight. So we're going to wrap up the show, but do want to give a big shout out to everyone in the live chat. Thanks so much for hanging out with us this evening. I believe the chat was civil for the most part. So thank you. And Logic, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Big shout out to Doc Dark, couldn't make it tonight. Working on rescheduling him to get back on the show. And then I think working on some other guests for next week as well. So Logic, I don't know if you want to be found, but if you do, let everyone know they can find you on social media.
Yeah, no, if you guys want to stop by the Enough to Keep Going weekly video games podcast, a multi-platform video games podcast, we are live at 8 p.m. on Sunday nights on the E2KG Network podcasting channel on YouTube.
All right. And I'm on Twitter. You could probably find me there. Just look up BRAP. I'm sure you'll find me.
One quick shout out to our fellow co-hosts, Gaming Forte and Slow-Mo. Somebody mentions in the chat. Also, speaking of controllers, on the mention of someone I read here on DPS, I think it was on DPS, I picked up a GameSur G7 Pro. So that's one that Slow-Mo is a big proponent of. So glad he was able to help somebody out and give him a good recommendation for a controller.
Oh, nice. Okay, awesome. Yeah, big shout out to Slow-Mo, Forte, and B Money. Hopefully they can join us next week. But yeah, everyone, enjoy the rest of the week. Have fun playing video games, because ultimately that's what it's about, having fun. And geez, a lot of great games coming out this month too. Logic talked about some of the releases for the month of August. So definitely a lot to play. But we'll be back next week at 9 p.m. Eastern time. So until then, again, everyone have a great week. We'll catch you next time. Thank you.